What's up, everybody? Today I'm going to show you how to create ragdoll physics for your character. You need Anime Studio Pro, even the older versions will work, or MOHO 12 Pro. It's really easy to do. It generates these animations for you, as you can see in these cartoons in the beginning. Real easy and really fun. So let's get started. I'll import an object. So I'm going to start off with this character. If you have MOHO 12 Pro, this character is in the library, so you can actually just go ahead and open that up by searching Poptugi. And you need to have Pro versions. I'm working in Anime Studio 11. And right now my character has a walk cycle in it. I'm going to go forward a little bit and go ahead and hit Command A on the bone layer, and then Command F to freeze the position. Then I'll go forward a little bit, and then I'm just going to stop my character from walking, so I'll just go ahead and pose him like that. And I think so he's walking a little bit and he stops. And to turn on physics, you need to have a physics group layer. So you have to create a folder. So I'm going to go back to frame 0 and then do group. And I'll click on my character and drop him in there. And then I'll go ahead and double click. Actually, I'll name this group folder physics just so we know what it is. And go ahead and double click that folder. Click physics and enable physics. But actually, make sure you go into the timeline to where you want it to start and stop. If you do it on frame 0, you won't create a keyframe. So I'm going to go to 84, double click the group layer, click physics and enable physics, and apply. Now, you can see it made a keyframe, but if I scroll through the timeline, my character actually doesn't move or fall or anything like that. That's because I did point binding for my character. If I go back to frame 0 and hit Z, character's rigged, but there's no bone strength turned on. And in order for physics to work, you have to have bone strength turned on your character. So I'm going to hit Command A on frame 0, and it's going to select every bone, and then I'll go ahead and hit the bone strength tool and left click and drag to the right. And you don't have to turn it up a lot. I'm just turning it up just a little bit just so it has a reaction. And my character's walking, and then on 84 he'll start to collapse. So now there's physics added to it. So if I double click physics and look at it, you can see that the gravity direction is just pointing down. So it's basically faking gravity for your animation. And just so you can see it a little better, I'm going to go ahead and create another vector layer. So I'll go to new, vector. I'll just call this ground and wall. I'm going to put that in the physics layer also. And then I'm going to double click that, click physics, and do non-moving object and apply. The reason I'm doing non-moving is if when I draw the wall or the floor, I don't want it to fall downwards. So I'm going to just use the square shape tool. I'll draw a floor, and then I'm just going to draw a wall in the background too, just so we can have something for our character to impact. So if I drag through the timeline, and when I hit 84, character is going to collapse, and he's going to hit the floor, and he's going to fold up, which brings another point to what I need to talk about, and that is bone constraints. So right now, if I go to frame 0 and click on the character and hit Z, my character's limbs and everything, they don't have any constraints. They can spin all the way around. And we want to kind of lock them in place so they don't spin all the way around. So what you can do is I'm going to hit B, and I'm just going to lock a few of the bones into place. So I'm going to hit B, select the neck bone, the torso. I don't really want to bend very much. And let's just keep that for now. And hit bone constraints and then angle constraints. And you can see these little markers. All that means is that right now it's set to -70 and 70. That means if I hit Z and try and move the neck, it will only turn to that constraint. Same with the chest. So it's not going to bend any farther than what's allowed. And I even want to constrain this a little more. So I'm going to hit B. And with just that bone selected on the torso, I can click in here and I can actually use my mouse wheel and you can see the red line move. I'm just going to make that a little smaller so it doesn't bend so much. And hit Z. So now he doesn't bend so much at the torso. I probably should do that for the upper torso too. So we'll go ahead and click on that because we don't want him to, well, maybe you want the back to bend like that. It makes for really funny animations though. So now I have those constraints on. When I go drag through the timeline again and the character collapses, you can see that his neck and torso doesn't bend so much. His legs are bending quite a bit. Maybe we'll lock those. So go back to frame 0 one more time. I'm going to go ahead and hit B. I'll select this bone. I'll hold shift down so I can select another one. I'll go ahead and hit bone constraints and I'll just do that. And this time I'm just going to type them in. I'll do -30 and 30. And that just makes it so they don't spin all the way around. We'll click onto the timeline and see what that does. And so now his legs don't bend so much, and that's pretty good. But what I want to do is show you how to have an object impact your character. So we'll go here, and instead of having our character just fall at, was it 72? Let me check. Let's go double click our character. I'm gonna go ahead and erase all of those keyframes that were made. All of the physics keyframes that were made. And then I'm going to double click on the character, and in the physics I'm gonna say start asleep. So I'll click that and apply and hit OK. So what happens now is I have animation that I've created, have my character stopping, and now my character's actually, when it means to start asleep is that it has physics applied, but it will not move until another object impacts it or touches it. And I don't know what's going on with his foot. I'm just going to leave that for now. So what I'm going to do is create another object. I'll go to vector, new layer, vector. I'm just going to call this impact object. And on frame 0, I'll go ahead and select the ellipse tool, the circle tool, and I'll just do a different color so it's easier to see. And I'll draw a ball. And as you would expect, when I drag through the timeline, because it's in the physics group, it's going to go ahead and fall because I haven't set anything else to it. So when it hits 84, it just falls down to the ground and bounces. And I'm going to put its point of origin back on it just so it has that point of rotation on it. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to double click the impact object, click physics, and I'm going to say start asleep and apply. So this, now it won't drop. It needs something else to react to. But what I want to do is I'm going to go to 84, and then I'm going to double click the impact object, and I want it to move to hit my character. So I'm going to change the initial direction, and I'm going to point it to the left. And you can see that little indicator right there. Move this over. So it's pointing towards the left, and I'm just going to type in a random speed. I'm going to try 3 and hit apply and OK. And then while it's on 84, frame 84, to activate it, instead of having something else touch it, I'm going to go to the animation menu and say nudge physics object and click that. And basically this is just a way of nudging or touching that object to go ahead and start moving the way I just told it to. So I have it pointing to the left. It doesn't have to. This is literally just kind of starting the animation. And I'll hit OK. So you can see it made a keyframe here. And what it's going to do is when it hits that nudge, it's going to start flying over to the left and hit our character, and then our character will start moving. So let me double click in there. Physics, we have it set to initial speed of 3. And this is where the fun part comes in if you're wanting to create some physics for your character. So we can change the speed to something higher, like 15, and apply and hit OK. And now you can see that same animation is going to change now. It's going to hit the character much harder or faster and throws our character back and hits that wall. And you can keep changing this to do different animations so you can get it to look right. So I can double click the impact object. I can say physics. Let's make it angle upward a little more. So now it's going to go towards his head, kind of. Hit apply and OK. And it'll change it again. When I go over to 84, it'll hit his head. And he kind of falls backwards. And you can also play around with the density, which is how heavy the object seems. Right now it's set at 1. If I set this to like 9 and apply and run that again, it's going to hit his head harder or heavier. So it's going to smack it. Smack it. Let's change the angle a little bit towards his body so he gets the full impact. And it hits him right in the chest and he kind of flies back and falls to the ground. But it's really cool because it creates all of these keyframes for you. And I can actually even go back to the character, and let me go back to 72. I'm going to go ahead and open up his face, and I'm going to do Command A. Selects all of the bones in his face. And this is just how I make my rigs, with the heads separated from the body so I can do different facial animations. And then Command F to create keyframes for everything. And then just before he gets hit with the ball, I'll have him hit B, click off of the character, then I'll hit T. I'm gonna move so he sees the ball coming. He's gonna raise his eyebrows. Actually, I have a smart bone for that. Raise his eyebrows. Open his eyelids really wide and change his facial expression to be scared. I'll go back into the body and I'll start moving his arms a little bit because he knows he's about to get hit and move back. So we have an animation of our character walking. He stops, he sees that he's gonna get hit, and then it turns into a physics-based object, and he gets he gets smacked and flies off the page. And the animations can be different every time. So now another cool trick that you can do is so how would you use this in an actual a regular animation? I'll go ahead and let me see. I made a car. Hold on just a second. I'm going to import a car. Okay, I couldn't find my car that I made in Illustrator, so I just grabbed a PNG file from the internet. Just this, and it's just a picture of a car, nothing fancy. And I want it to look like he's getting hit by the car. So I'm going to make it look like that by scrolling through the timeline. And at 84, that's when he's about to get hit. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the car through here. And wait, where's the impact? So the impact's right before here. So the car needs to be actually here. And then I'll have it drive off. So let me see. Let me make the car a little smaller so we can get the full effect. I'm trying to figure out the timing to, let's see. Where is it? Right there. It needs to be there. Trying to get the speed right. Because I just want it to pass through the frame. And all I'm really going to do to make the image, the impact image disappear is I'm going to hit Q on frame 0. And I'll just select it. So I'm selecting the fill, and then I'll click the fill. And I'm just going to turn the opacity all the way down so it disappears. So it's still there. But when I scroll through, he sees the car coming and then he gets hit. And again, let me double click that, physics. Wait, where is it? I should have done it on frame 1 because now I don't have a keyframe. Let me do a Command Z. I'm going to back up. I'll go to frame 1 and then change the opacity. Because I actually want to... Actually, let me do this. Okay, I'm going to go to frame 0, impact object. I'm going to hit T. I'm going to move it down here. And double click it, and I'm going to make it hit him from below. Maybe. This might not work. It might get stuck in the wall because the wall is a physics object also. So I'm going to hit physics, have it point up, and apply. Oops. What did I do? Okay, let's move it here. Okay, so I'm going to create a keyframe here. I want to put it underneath. I'm going to select it, hit Command X, which is going to cut it, but it's also going to save it in the clipboard. So when I go to frame 0 and then do a Command V and paste, it's going to put it right where I want. And I change the physics direction upward. So let's see. I'm going to have to delete some of these keyframes, I think, is what it is. Because it's already added them in. So let's go ahead and select all the physics ones and delete that. Oh, nope. It doesn't work because it's stuck in the wall, I think. So let's go back to 0. Get rid of all those. Okay. Let me make it, I'm going to make it really tiny. Let's do this. Let's squash it. And pull it apart. And I'm gonna put it under. What I'm trying to get it away from the floor so it doesn't mess with him. And then I'm gonna select those, Command X to cut, go to frame 0, Command V to paste, and then there it goes. It's hitting directly under his feet, so it looks kind of it looks extra crazy, but that's kind of what I'm going for. I just want to show you that you can do a whole bunch of different things. Let me even turn it a little bit. I'll select all those keyframes, go back. Let's go ahead and tilt it a little bit, just a little bit. It's hard to hit T. I'm just kind of deforming it a little bit. And then there we go. Bam. It's really cool because you can just create a lot of kind of free-falling animations really fast. So I'll go to frame 1, impact object, select that, and make it invisible. So then it looks more like he's getting hit by a car. And once again, you can change the density. I can change the density of the character also. So if I double click that, hit physics, and make him heavier, let's say 6, and apply. You can keep messing with it, and then I don't think he'll fly up so much. So yeah, he's a lot heavier. So when he gets hit, he kind of bounces, falls. I can go back and mess with that again and say, let's make it 3. And okay, and it'll redo it, and he goes a little bit higher. And if you, I mean, you want to get crazy, you can make it him really light. So let's do 0.25, 0.025. So I think he'll probably fly off like there's no gravity. He gets hit and he just boom, flies off. That's too much. Let me put it to the side. Impact object. Let's go ahead and move it. We'll move it over here. And I'm just going to hit him to the left a little bit more instead. So that's with him being really light, having light density. And he hits the back of the wall and flies off. So it's really, really cool. And very easy to do. And like I said, you need Anime Studio Pro or MOHO Pro 12. I also, once again, Phil Gunter is letting me use one of his characters. I also, let's see, Skeleton Shatter. So this is the same concept. And for all my patrons, I'll be sending you the skeleton again. You should have got it with the X-ray tutorial, but if you haven't got it, you'll get this too. So here's the skeleton character. And same kind of thing. I'll go ahead and real quickly do the same thing. I'll create a new group. Call it physics. Drop the skeleton in there. Create a new layer. We'll call this ground. Wall. And I'll draw a ground level and a wall just for the back, just so we have something to impact. Double click that and oh wait, turn the physics on. But actually, let's go into the timeline. We'll do it at 72. Double click the folder, physics, enable physics, apply. And the ground and wall, again, we don't want it to move, so non-moving object, apply. And the skeleton. Oh, again, you have to have bone strength on the character. So I'm going to go back to frame 0, use bone strength, turn it up a little bit, and then on 72 he should start collapsing into pieces. And the reason... How did I do this? What I did was I made it so, because the character can actually animate. You know, I can do a walk cycle really quick. And Command A, Command F to freeze frame. Go to frame 12. Move this leg forward, this one back. Forward, back. And Command A, Command F. I'm selecting the first keyframes, copying, Command C. Go to 24, Command Paste. And we got the little scissor movement. And you guys have seen this before if you've seen my walk cycles or characters things before. It's really easy. Go to frame 6. I'll hit Z. Bend this leg a little bit and this arm a little bit. 18. Bend the back, arm and leg a little bit. And then we've got a walk cycle. Go ahead and cycle to frame 2. So he'll walk for a little bit. I'll do Command A, Command F to freeze frame. Go forward a little bit, have him stop. Right before the physics start, I'm going to have him pose like he knows he's going to get hit. And this is the same exact thing, except I've separated the bones. They'll kind of fall apart. So it's really cool. You could use this for maybe even if you want to do car crashes or, you know, machinery that falls apart or something where it's kind of destroyed. It's whole at first and then you have it destroyed. So let's go to this. He's gonna stop and maybe lean back a little bit and open his mouth. And we want to start it, physics, start asleep again. Oops, let's erase those. Okay. Starts on 72. I'm going to move his arms up. And you'll notice that I'm selecting the keyframes. The physics will make keyframes for every single frame. So when I run the timeline through it, I need to go back and delete it. Otherwise, those keyframes are, I think it's called baked in. They're just kind of just all there already. So you need to erase them to adjust. So I have my character walking, stops, screams. And then right here, because the character is, his body parts are separated, frame 0, impact, do the same thing. I'll go ahead and draw a circle. And I'm not even going to start it asleep. I'm going to go ahead and let me do this first. Put the point of origin on the ball. So the physics don't turn on until 72. We'll just go directly into the impact layer. Physics, go to the left, point to the left, and initial speed we'll just say 22. So it's pretty fast. So it's going to hit him really hard. Hit apply. And okay. And you can see that it instantly kind of shatters the character and puts him in a little pile, which is pretty cool. Again, this is all dependent on how heavy the character is and how heavy the impact is. So we can turn the density up on this, hit apply. Hits much harder. And I think the character's bones are actually still connected So they kind of clump together still. And we can, I think, if I go right before the physics start, I'm going to go ahead and do a Command A and select all of the bones. And then I'm going to select the parenting tool. And you can see they're all rigged like you normally would. But on this frame 71, I'm going to go ahead and click outside on the canvas. And I think that breaks apart all of the links to the bone. So it does. But let me erase some of these keyframes. So maybe I need to do it right here on the physics layer. Command A, reparent, and then I think that breaks them all apart. No, they're still kind of linked. 71, break them apart. Yeah, this is actually what I wanted, but it doesn't look as good because it's not touching some of them, like the head and the feet aren't getting touched, so they don't separate. Let's make the ball tall. Go to impact. Let's change it so it's really tall object. It kind of mushes everything though. Let me see what it looks like with the color turned off. So I'll select that. It's kind of good, except the ribs, I think, have some kind of they're being affected by the bone strength somehow. You can see all the other pieces just fly apart, but the ribs kind of do this weird stretching right here. I think some of the points weren't bound correctly, but you get a much better shatter effect. See all of the teeth fly off. I mean, everything kind of just breaks apart. And the reason, if you want every single piece to fly apart, you need to have bones assigned to each piece. I did that with the fingers and stuff, so you can see they kind of just shatter into little tiny bones. But the jaw itself has the teeth still in it because it's part of one layer or one piece of artwork. But you can get real detailed with it if you want. But that's kind of all I got for physics. Actually, let me go back one more time to show you. So, like with the character, he gets hit by the car, flies off into the sunset. Let's make his density a lot smaller, because you can actually go back into animating your character again afterwards also. So we'll go to physics. Let's make him dense, like 6. And I'll go ahead and I'm going to delete all those keyframes that were created. He gets hit. He gets run over. And then if I go double click back into the physics layer and then click visible and apply. Or no, that's not what it is. I'm sorry. Command Z, go back. Okay, so our character got hit. He's all crumpled up into a little ball. We can double click the physics layer, click physics, and then uncheck enable physics and apply. So from this frame, they are turned off. So if I go back into the character, let's go ahead and delete all of these other keyframes. From here out, our character is ready to animate again. So you can come back in. And I can start animating my character to get back up or whatever. Oops. And he moves just like normal-ish. It's a little busted up. But I just wanted to show you that you can actually turn physics on. He is really messed up. And then turn them back off. So he gets Oops. Oh, I moved his position too. Yeah, it takes some tweaking, but the point is you can actually add physics and turn them off and on within your animation. So I hope you guys found this useful. It's a little bit complicated. If you have any questions or comments, just leave them down below. I know it's a little tricky, and physics they're hard to get to work exactly the way you want, but they're extremely fun to use, and can be really, really helpful. I'll be making more tutorials on how to use physics to create ropes, hair physics, things like that. So I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Or talk to you next time, that is. Thanks for watching.